Arrests and brawling outside Ferguson Police Department as 2 officers are injured in gunfire at a protest rally in the racially strained American city. Using refugees as blackmail from Europe to Australia, nations are threatening each other with a flood of illegal immigrants as their arguments escalate. And Libya's reconciliation talks fail, threatening further chaos and hampering chances of getting Gaddafi's son handed over for trial in The Hague. Hello there, you're watching RT International. It's just gone midday here in the Russian capital. Welcome to the programme. 2 police officers have been shot outside Ferguson Police Station in Missouri in the United States. The incident happened amid skirmishes at the protest rally at the site. The shooting happened during a protest following the resignation of the city's police chief, who is the 6th Ferguson official to quit or be fired following the killing of an unarmed black teenager, Michael Brown, in Ferguson. The details from RT's Guy Tegang.
St. Louis County Police Chief said 1 officer was shot in the face and 1 in the shoulder. He said both suffered very serious gunshot injuries but were conscious. He said, quote, "These police officers were standing there and they were shot just because they were police officers." We understand that the perpetrator or the perpetrators are still at large at this point. This happened as protesters had gathered outside the Ferguson Police Department Wednesday night to cheer the resignation of the city's police chief, Tom.
A close eye on the developments in Ferguson, and we will keep you updated as the details emerge. Relations between Australia and Indonesia have certainly struggled of late after Indonesia sentenced 2 Australians to death for drugs trafficking. But Australia's appeal to not execute the men have increasingly infuriated Indonesians, to the point where one senior minister is now threatening Australia with a wave of asylum seekers.
If Canberra keeps doing things that displease Indonesia, Jakarta will surely let the illegal immigrants go to Australia. It will be like a human tsunami.
Threatening to bombard a country with illegal immigrants has become quite the bargaining chip in political quarrels elsewhere too, as Polly Boyko explains.
There's a new political weapon being wielded by countries, the threat of unleashing an immigrant invasion. Take, for example, Greece. The country's defence minister, Panos Kimenos, has threatened to allow millions of economic migrants crossing its border to travel into Europe if Brussels fails to stop Greece crashing out of the Eurozone. Bolstering his political leverage, or what many would simply call blackmail, was the politician's observation that there'd probably be some jihadists from Islamic State among those travelling to the continent.
Well, the worst case scenario is terrorists are allowed free access into the European Union and then can plan and execute terrorist actions very easily.
And the terrorists themselves are using the new political weapon. Last month, Islamic State threatened to flood Europe with 500,000 migrants from Libya if the West intervened militarily in the region. Telephone intercepts in Italy revealed that the extremist organisation was threatening a psychological attack, sending hundreds of thousands of people out to sea in boats that would overwhelm rescue services and provoke riots in Europe.
I mean, I think it is very much psychological than real. No one knows how many people are going to come to Europe via Libya, but those people are primarily migrants, you know, asylum seekers, people trying to escape the carnage. So I think it's actually trying to play on this fear of asylum seekers and migrants, which is being stoked up across Europe.
Over in Britain, anti-immigration party UKIP is set to make massive gains at the general election. With public services such as the health system increasingly stretched, immigration is on the minds of many voters here. And at the same time, the government is trying to keep Britain's door closed to an increasing number of asylum seekers who are gathering across the Channel. In the French town of Calais, some 2,500 migrants have set up camp by the port, trying to make their way to Britain. Local authorities there are so frustrated with the situation and Britain's unwillingness to take them in that they've floated the idea of buying all the migrants' ferry tickets to come to the UK. The British government has helped to fund a large barbed wire fence around the ferry terminal, though, to keep illegal immigrants from stowing themselves away in lorries bound for Britain. So for any political forces willing to employ it, the threat of a wave of migrants seems to have become the perfect bogeyman. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
Libya faces the rising threat of further civil war as factions controlling various parts of the country failed to meet for UN-led talks on Wednesday. The government, which controls only a few key cities, decides to postpone the negotiations. Libya has been engulfed in chaos since the NATO-backed rebellion saw the killing of leader Muammar Gaddafi, and that anarchy is preventing his son Saif from getting a proper court trial. He's being held in the town of Zintan, which is in the hands of a local tribe. They refuse to hand him over to the government and plan to prosecute him themselves. Saif al-Islam was Libya's second most powerful figure. He controlled the flow of the Libyan Investment Authority, a sovereign fund worth up to $100 billion. He got a PhD from London School of Economics and attracted some influential friends in Britain. But now he faces the death penalty at the hands of the rebels and is accused of crimes against humanity. We spoke to him in 2011 at the time of the NATO invasion.
This country is a piece of cake, rich, full of gas, oil, and we have more than $100 billion deposits abroad, so we have to share this cake. That's it. And we have to get off Mr. Gaddafi because he's the only obstacle between us and the cake. It's as simple as that.
RT contacted the International Criminal Court to find out how officials view the situation, and here's what they told us.
Libya has failed to comply with the requests by the court to surrender Saif al-Islam Gaddafi to the court. Throughout the proceedings, Libya demonstrated in several respects its commitment to the court and made genuine efforts to maintain a constructive dialogue. The chamber also noted the volatile political and security situation in Libya and stated that it was sensitive to the serious difficulties that Libya is currently facing.
John Jones, the lawyer of Saif Gaddafi, told us that Western nations lack the political will to get Gaddafi's son out of the rebel hands.
The International Criminal Court has said 2 years ago that Saif Gaddafi should be delivered to The Hague, and the ICC has made a report of non-compliance by Libya to the Security Council. And so the real focus where pressure could be applied would be by the Security Council actually passing a resolution in relation to Libya's non-compliance, and that hasn't happened. And so the problem is, well, there's I detect a lack of political will on the part of major Western governments, including the UK, France and the US, to actually tackle this and to deal with Libya.
Muammar Gaddafi's wife, his only daughter and 2 other sons have gone missing. Some reports suggest they're in hiding somewhere in Algeria or Oman. Another son, Sadi, is also reportedly in custody in Libya, awaiting trial with his brother Saif. After 6 months in orbit, 3 crew members from the International Space Station are back. They include the first Russian woman since Soviet times. All touched down in their Soyuz capsule in Kazakhstan, as we report from Mission Control.